Go. Let's begin. Let me move the screen here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live now worldwide. Thank you for any of all affiliate stations have picked this up. We are live right now on the TuneIn Radio, TuneIn app, Who's Next NYC FM, which is a New York City based radio station. We give you music, we give you entertainment, and unfortunately, we also give you live breaking news that has worldwide implications. Yeah, officially, unfortunately, at this time, I have to report that the U.S. forces in the Middle East and also Israeli forces are now under attack by the state of Iran. We now have in a state of emergency. We are at war. The U.S. and Israel is now at war with Iran, a full war with the government state of Iran and their proxies. This is a full war now. This has been building up since October 7th, invasion, terrorist attacks against Israel, which, we condemn 100%. But also what's been going on with Palestine, with Gaza, and, what's been going on over the past 20, 30, 40 years with Iran, ever since the U.S. Embassy invasion by Iran in 1979. We have not had good relations with Iran. But unfortunately, we're now at a full state of war. And this is breaking news all over news outlets. And unfortunately, I have to report that Iran has officially begun attacks against U.S. forces and positions throughout the Middle East. They have begun a blockade of the strand of, forgive me for my mispronunciation, the strand of Mahous, I believe, of the shipping corridor in the Middle East. There's been a blockade started by Iran and Iran proxies on that. They have begun missile and drone strikes against U.S. forces. That has been confirmed by CNN, by Reuters, independently verified against Israeli forces and stuff like that. So let me not waste any more time now. Let me get the Honorable Gonzalo Durant, former U.S. Marine, retired, with his expertise and his insight here. Good afternoon, the Honorable Gonzalo Durant. Thank you for coming on our show here on our radio. And at this time, let me make sure that we have you here. Your screen. Let me verify. But thank you for being with us and spending some time with us with this situation, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, DJ Loudmouth. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, we got you here. You're good. So you're good to go. How you feel about this late breaking situation here? Unfortunately, that we have to report live on the air.
Well, war is always it's an unfortunate thing. But like you said, it has been building up. I don't think we're at at the state that war has started, but the implications, and it's immediate. You can tell that all the proxies that need to be in place are starting up. The Israelis have made their announcements, and Iran making that first step in that direction with that blockade, implement something big. They're not they're taking a step forward, and that's something that honestly, I you and I have been talking about this for a while behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That this is the escalation part. If nothing would happen directly by the U.S. government, and now we're facing it. Is World War III on the verge? It's we depending on where you stand on the line. This is a generational war that's been going on. The Israelis and the Palestinians. For me, it's always been trying to get a ceasefire, two-party state, but also at the same time putting a stop to Hamas. But the way things have been going, escalation after escalation after escalation. The death of one of their high generals
Yep.
coming out, and then I can't remember the name of the individuals that we talked about the other day, but
so many stories.
the high-ranking person that had his
Salamaki, I believe his name, when Trump was in office. This is what really started escalating the tensions, unfortunately, that we have now. Where we at now, when President Trump authorized the assassination of Salamaki, about one of the top commanding officer, of the Iran Revolutionary Guard. So this has started from then, and obviously this started going back to the 1970s with the Shah of Iran and the revolution, the Iranian Revolution, with the Ayatollah. They took over and they seized the embassy under President Carter and the whole thing. We know about that. So let's get to present time now, 2024. Obviously, the horrific terrorist attacks by Hamas, Palestine, Hamas, and other proxies. That was not just by Hamas. Obviously, it was through Iranian, directly and indirectly through their proxies, with the terrorist attacks, horrific terrorist attacks on October 7th of last year against Israel. And not only Israelis, men, women, children died. Some are still hostages, which we don't know. They could be all dead, God forbid. But it was also people from around the world that were killed and captured as well, including U.S. citizens, British citizens, are part of those terrorist attacks on October 7th that was perpetrated by Hamas and by Iranian Revolutionary Guard and their proxies. So it's been like you said, Mr. Honorable Durant. You're still with us, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. There's been escalation after escalation. We all wanted a ceasefire in Gaza and Palestine. We all wanted and urged for a ceasefire, so we could have a room for negotiating with the Palestine, government, to release the hostages, exchange of hostages, because obviously we have hostages of Palestinians, of Hamas soldiers. There you go, Hamas, as well. And we did some back and forth releases, exchanges, and stuff like that. There was open channels before recently today. This past week, we did have open channels with Hamas, and through third parties with Saudi Arabia and Jordan, we were trying to negotiate. But unfortunately, cooler heads have not prevailed. Biden even assisted on a ceasefire because it spiraled out of control when you have a genocide of hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. We saw the images. Everyone has seen the images, just like you, Mr. Honorable Durant. We've seen the images on the news, on social media, of fathers laying over their dead women. Their wives and their daughters and their children holding babies. It's both sides of this. Yeah, there's been Israeli deaths, but there's also been countless 10, 20, 100 times of innocent Palestinian families that are not terrorists, that are not with Hamas or not with Iran, don't support the Ayatollahs, the Islamic, fundamentalists, because this is a biblical war as well, and it goes back to before us, beginning of time, but in current context here, to wrap it up, my point of view before I get yours is that this is a you know, the beginning of time since mankind. This is long before the United States was a thing, before any country, has been a thing. This goes back to Babylon times and stuff like that, you know. But politicians, have to be, there's been politicians that come out to be strong against this. There's been politicians uh want a ceasefire, that it doesn't escalate to this, you know, and stuff like that. But let's get your point of view, your counterpoints, and all this stuff.
Well, we've talked about this before. I'm not the expert on the Israeli-Palestinian war, but I have followed it, and this is something that I was taught as a grade school coming up in my educational. There's always been difficulties in the Middle East. Getting into where I am now in the position in politics, being a vice chairman for the Conservative Party in the Bronx and running for office, I've got more involved into it. Not as much as individuals may have liked, but I am one of the first politicians to publicly state. I can't say for all politicians, but I know for sure I'm one of the first Bronx politicians to say, put a statement out there for a ceasefire. I would like to say that I'm a majority. I'm one of the first of the majority to do it. And the problem is, whichever point of view that you're in, a ceasefire means something different for somebody else. For one side it means one thing, the other side it means another thing. So to my second point is, I've always been somewhere in the middle of this conflict. Once again, it's a generational war. This is something that's been going on since I was a grade school. It's two countries trying to occupy one state, and I would like to see a two-state party, but obviously this is the turmoil that we're in right now, and America's involvement has been, we'll stand by, and we'll give you money and we'll give you weapons on one side, but we won't really do anything directly. And now, the funders of the Hamas are taking this step further to say, now we're coming out with our glove, we're putting our gloves on, and who's going to make the next move. And this is where it's going to be more impactful for not only our government, but also the American citizens. Because once, war starts, now we're sending troops over there. We're sending more weapons, we're sending more money. And, the things that we've done so far, we're not on one conflict issue. We have issues with the Ukraine and Russia, the Taiwanese and Japanese, China and Taiwanese, and then we have other things going on in the world. For me, I've always been preaching that we should have a concise plan outlined and a point of attack, but it's been falling on deaf ears when it comes to this bipartisan government that we're in. And we've seen where a lot of the funding has come for a lot of the things that have been happening on our side, and that's where my main focus as a politician has been, is where, because I represent, I'm a candidate for Congress for New York 15 district that's in the Bronx. So my main focus is on what has been the focus for the Bronx constituents. And, there's been a growing number of rebellion in the Bronx, which I honestly, that's not something I thought I would be seeing in my lifetime, like the amount and how far it's gotten regarding the Israel and Palestinians protesting.
Yeah, because I'm trying to share this and spread it. As we've been talking, you're talking, I'm trying to spread this through social media, so we could get many more people to tune in. But yeah, I mean, your opponent, Richie Torres, supports 100% Israel, which is cool. We're not anti-Semite here, but we're pro anti-war. I could say that we both agree that we're both anti-war. We want a peaceful solution to this problem, this situation here. We want to de-escalate. We want a two-state resolution that there's Israel and Palestine could coexist, as brothers, because they all are, are one. They share a country together, a historical country and land, and they have to get along peacefully, which has been a problem, and now it's out of control right now. But your opponent, Richie Torres, supports the genocide and the slaughter of innocent Palestinians' families. Of course, he supports eliminating Hamas. We all agree that Hamas needs to be eliminated. All terrorists have to be eliminated. ISIS, and Al Qaeda. We've been dealing with them for over 20 years. Before 9/11 and after 9/11. And the one thing we want to prevent is another 9/11. But Israel had their 9/11 at October 7th, and they're constantly under attack. And you being in Iraq, being a war veteran, defending the United States, fighting against the war and terror, you're a decorated Marine. You served our country, fought the war and terror. When George W. Bush was president, he sent you and hundreds of thousands of other Americans to fight the war on terror, and you successfully accomplished that. And I commend you for that. Honorable Gonzalo Durant. But we have to put not only the Bronx first, New Yorkers first, we have to put America first. And that's why you're running for Congress for the Bronx for New York 15, because we need to have some common sense here, and we need to start having forever wars against other countries and against Muslims, that are not terrorists, that are not out to kill Americans or do jihad against America or Israel, because this has spiraled out of control. And the mainstream media has their political spin, their point of views. They're either left or right. We're in the middle here. You're in the middle. And we want a peaceful solution here and a two-party state between Israel and Palestine. And we keep it 100 here. And I invited both former President Trump, which I'm in negotiations with his campaign as we speak. It's been a back and forth correspondence. And I have officially begun the channels of inviting President Biden or someone from his administration to come on our station, to come on these platforms, since we reach hundreds of thousands of listeners and viewers weekly across social media and radio, and we need, put America first and put the people of the Bronx and New York City first. Because while this is great, we're sending all this money overseas. We're sending it to Israel. We're sending it to Ukraine. Where's the money left over for residents of the Bronx? We got homeless families that live in New York City, that live in the Bronx, and where's the funding for them, the housing for them? Where's the jobs for the residents of the Bronx? The Bronx has the highest unemployment rate in the country. And this is the direct districts that Richie Torres, your opponent, represents.
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead. Take it from there.
To begin with Torres, he's always preached, about his political stance on the Bronx. And just so people know, it's not just the highest unemployment, it's the poorest district in all of the country, congressional and the country itself. And that's something that he's seen his whole political career in the city council where he ran, he was in the poorest district. In Congress, he's in the poorest district, and he's been a career politician where he had backing of the Democratic Party. His main, I guess his rabbi was Jimmy Vaca, and it gave him that position to elevate him in that position. Now, regarding with him and Israel, he in his not you can't go on his Twitter feed without seeing Israel, 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 Israel. And I think there was a New York NYC poll conducted by a newspaper that they said it was like 340 something, 300 over 300% of all his taxes were regarding the Israeli, government and country. And a lot of Bronxites felt bad about that. They felt that was inappropriate that a New York congressman who represents the Bronx is mostly talking about another country, and to be a point of fact. Once again, I'm not trying to be negative when I say this, but these are situations that are coming up. He's already received over $1 million from IPAC funds that are
sorry to cut you off. He received. I have his actual. I don't have it at the moment. I do have it on my computer. I actually have his donor list, and he received millions and millions of dollars from pro-Israeli PACs, and those are his top 5 donors,
Yes.
all related to Israel, the Israeli government, and Israeli PACs. Continue.
Now, with the work that I've done over the last 10 years, and you've seen that I've been pretty active, in the North and South Bronx, politics, nonprofit work, etc. I can tell you that I barely bumped into him. I don't think I've ever bumped into him by accident in any working functions or anything like that. So, and especially in his district. So for me, once again, I'm not trying to be negative when I say this, but his role and his position is very questionable, not only with myself, other candidates that are running against him this year, and the Bronxites within his district and constituents. Now, with regards to what you mentioned with Iraq and my service to this country, I was in Iraq in 2008, deployed. What I don't want to see is another situation like that where we go in and we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars,
billions and trillions of dollars,
billions and trillions of dollars, death of Americans, and we put in a situation that the second that we don't have an end result, and then on top of that, when we leave, everything crumbles that we try to accomplish there. So
yeah, look at what happened at the Iraq and Afghanistan, and the decay of Iraq. It's pretty much half the country and government is controlled by Iran now.
And everything that we did was completely wiped out in a matter of months or years. So it's
and look at the disgraceful withdrawal that we did that was not organized when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And that's documented. That was worse than Vietnam. And it's just, accountability starts at the top. And unfortunately, I love Joe Biden. I respect his 50 plus years of service to this country. I'm a true patriot like you are. I had family that served Vietnam War, Korean War, World War II, World War I, just like your family and many families out there. I have a military family as well and stuff like that. It's just, but the buck stops at the person who is in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the Oval Office. It starts at the top all the way down to our local elected officials, and Congress has their hands dirty. Their hands, the blood of not only our troops, but of the Palestinians, people in Gaza, people in the Middle East, Muslims, innocent Muslims, because the radical news media wants to label everyone as a jihadist and all this stuff, which is not the case at all. But unfortunately, what is what are they supposed to do? It's like rocks versus scissors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. You know,
What go ahead, continue.
well, what I would like to focus on is more of
Yeah.
the constituents of the Bronx, the people of the
Yeah, let's
Bronx.
focus on that.
You
Let's go
know,
back to
and right now, you mentioned some high points. Not only is this the poorest district on the employment, the people here, we're struggling to put food on our table, to work a livable wage, to do all these things just to maintain a regular, sustainable life, and we're struggling. We're struggling across the board. Businesses are going down. Deteriorating of our neighborhoods are happening, and there's millions upon millions of dollars that are being given regularly to outside the country without accountability, and that's the problem that bothers me. So when you mention healthcare, education, and all those things that we all need, the are the constituents of this area, they're wondering, why are we sending all these millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars over there outside without any accountability, while we're suffering here with all this stuff. Now, if you put in that to perspective, not only have we given millions of dollars over to other countries, specifically Israel right now. That's the main focus that we're talking about. But we're funding the defense, our defense budget that we're funding. We're funding NATO. We're funding the UN and all these organizations. We are there to interject when all this stuff is going down. Now, if there's conflict that has been built up so much right now, and we've given so much money, we have to make a decisive plan on what we're going to do next. Because if we don't, then there's going to be more money spent, more lives lost, and I'm more focused on trying to resolve this as fast and as soon as possible, so that we can, go about our business. We have to live our lives. Humanitarianly, we don't want to see death and on the stuff, the atrocious stuff that has been happening the last, during these time frames. And when you mention Biden, his moves are going to be one thing, but Congress is the only, the judicial branch that can declare war. And I don't, my trust in Richard Torres is pretty low, and many of the members of Congress.
Well,
So
I just officially invited Richie Torres through Twitter to join us if he wants to, because we are a fair and balanced radio station here, and we want all sides. So I officially tagged him and DM'd him to personally invite him to join us right now to have open conversation about this.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Since you brought his name up during this conversation, this is somebody who avoids debates. He avoids speaking in public engagements that he hasn't made on his part. I would love if he did pop up. I highly doubt he will, but you never know. This is one of those moments,
Well, I just officially I'm blowing up his Twitter right now, and everyone out there that's watching, if you're on Twitter X, please DM and tag Richie Torres, who is the current U.S. representative of Congress for the Bronx that supported this war, which is now all-out war against the U.S. and Israel. Tag him, blow up his social media, all platforms, and tell him that DJ Loudmouth is on the air with the Honorable Gonzalo Duran.
Get him, DJ Loudmouth. Get him.
His opponent at the ballot box, November 5th, for U.S. Congress, and we challenge him to have the balls to come on the air live, not with CNN, not with Fox News, to come on Who's Next NYC FM radio.
Now there is someone that might jump in. So if you look at it,
yeah, go ahead.
let's say Richie Torres would be pro-Israel, right? I'm the guy in the middle. I'm the guy in the middle, and then there's someone that is pro Palestine. So if you want to jump in, His
Go ahead.
Twitter is at JOSBTR.
What? What you want? Are you gonna contact him, or you
No, this I
you
think
want?
you could. Yeah, I mean, since you're throwing Richie Torres out there, this is
All right,
the
hold on.
independent candidate that might be coming on. I don't know if he's gonna make it, but if he does, he'll be
All right,
the independent candidate.
hold on. Let me try to. I'm doing a lot of things here at the same time. I'm like, you know, hold on. All right, cool. Let me start tagging. Hold on. Richie Torres. I want every. All right, what's the person's name?
So it's at JOSBTRIGGA.
Oh, Jose Vega.
Yeah, Jose Vega.
All right, hold on. All right. I'm a DM. Okay, I'm a DM right now. Is he available now? Do you have his?
That I don't know, but I mean, he's normally he's pretty proactive. So, if he's available, I'm sure he'll pop in. And that's that's something that's been avoided in normal politics and in general politics. Um, Candidates talking, debating, it's always that animosity. As you guys can see, I'm trying to get all the opponents to jump on because I think we need to have these type of conversations. Whether it's on CNN or at the ground level, or at over here in Who's Next NYC. You know, we need these conversations to be out there.
Yeah, definitely. No, continue. Go ahead. I'm just messaging
Yeah.
people. Go ahead.
So that being said, with the thing, when I woke up this morning, all I've been doing is working on the computer on stuff that are coming up, basic things. Now that I got the candidacy, the ballot access for the Republican and the Conservative Party, these are more things that are going to be thrown into my face that we have to resolve. And you got to see the type of person that you want, and that you're putting into a leadership position. Are you going to pick the person that has been vocal only on one side of a situation, or somebody who's going to be open-minded, look at all the things that are entwined into like a problem, and then try to resolve it? And that's what I've done for most of my career, not only in the nonprofit world, politics, and everything else that I've tried to put my hands on in.
Definitely. I'm continuing to I officially called out Richie Torres on Twitter. I at Richie Torres. Join me and Gonzalo Duran right now on Worldwide FM Radio. DM me for link. Richie Torres, if you're listening or watching, or someone in his campaign, DM me on Twitter at Real Big Time J JY. Real Big Time J JY DJ Loudmouth. Who's Next NYC FM Radio, WPAT 930 on the AM dial, New York, Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island, Philadelphia. We have 250 to 500,000 weekly listeners. So we are New York City. We are national radio worldwide, over 200 platforms, broadcasting right now in over 40 countries as I speak. Richie Torres, come join the discussion right now. Everyone that's listening to my voice or Mr. Honorable Durant's voice, tag Richie Torres on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and demand, as you American voters and voters of the Bronx, demand Richie Torres come on our show right now and address what's going on with Israel, with the Middle East, with Iran, since he voted and authorized several bills which led to this moment. Let him come on and address the American public on Who's Next NYC FM. Go ahead, sir. Continue.
So, I mean, now let's talk about the implications of what's going to happen. Besides the war efforts that are going to happen, that's something we haven't seen. Unification. When I put in my ceasefire statement a couple months back, one of the things that you and I talked about is what's going to be the ramification of things like this that are going to happen. One of the things that if we might unite the Arab nations on such a, because they have been, non-vocal of what's going on. They've made their statements, but they haven't put any real effort publicly on what they're going to do. Obviously, their Hamas is being funded by organizations such as Iran, and I'm sure more others. But unifying the Arab nations against us—that's something that something that I've been trying to find ways to avoid. Me personally, being in Congress, I would like to talk up to the generals, the other congressmen, and see, what can we do to try to avoid the bigger implications that are going to happen. Because just because a war or conflict is imminent doesn't mean it's going to happen. Which I'm hope that our current politicians, Biden, Secretary of Defense, and others will try to find a way to resolve this and de-escalate it, as much as they can. But once it does escalate, what are we going to do to make this situation not happen again? And then now, if we go into the war effort, what's one of the things that are going to happen besides more money being spent, the deaths, the situation that are going to happen in war, but also oil. That's an implication. Once again, that I'm not trying to be desensitized on the war and people dying, but we also have to remember the general American population are going to be war. Oil is going to go up.
You're right.
And for the average American who may be sympathetic, humanitarian to the war efforts and what's going on in in the Middle East or somewhere outside the U.S., the general population, once again, like I said earlier, we're trying to figure out how we're going to pay our medical bills, eat food, and put food on the table, and the next thing is oil increase. And it's not just gas, the oil for the gas. It's an implication of products that are gonna that oil touches that are gonna increase all across the board. Some people don't understand, like the what's something small. I think the magic markers that we use have some implication of oils. So stuff like that we don't realize on a regular basis are going to be implemented in some fashion, in some way, to what's going on outside of the country.
No, definitely. There's going to be worldwide implications at your supermarkets, at the pumps, everything, especially, with the blockade, of the strands of Mahous, I believe, and stuff like that, and the direct U.S. involvement, militarily now. All options are on the table. And we have no choice but to respond militarily, because and there's also the bigger threat that this could lead to nuclear war, because there's reports coming out that Iran does have a few nuclear bombs. Perhaps it's not 100% verified, but there is different news outlets out there that is reporting that Iran now has nuclear capabilities and a delivery system to do that potentially. And of course, we all know that Israel is a nuclear state and has been for several decades. So this could escalate to a whole nother level that we never could imagine.
Yeah, just to throw in there, a phrase that hasn't been heard in a very long time was what's it called? A threat of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, correct.
Yes. That started that phrase right there, and that started, our last skirmish, and and we're talking about decades ago. What has happened since then? The technology and science that has increased in the decades since then is not it's not unfeasible to believe that other countries have been stockpiling on nuclear weapons. You know how and that's a scary thing. That's a scary thing because we know that other countries have been fearful of what we have and the capabilities. You know, our string with Russia is on a thin line, all because we're all scared about who's going to blow each other. You know, if we make one move, we're going to blow ourselves up. And to have other countries that we're not ready, prepared for, to have these, you know, these threats with, it scares me. You know, how do we function on a regular basis when knowing that there are things outside of our capabilities, outside of our window of visibility that's going on that can put us in the position, especially now when now we literally have an imminent threat.
Yeah, definitely. You know, just look at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. Um, it's all related one way or another. We have the biggest invasion in Europe since World War II when Russia invaded Ukraine a couple years ago. And the whole world is either supplying weapons, funding, even troops, troops to train and stuff like that. And France is talking about deploying troops directly in conflict against Russia. NATO is making preparations. Russia recently, in the past, few days, has been positioning missiles, ballistic missiles. We don't know if they're nuclear or not, but they're positioning. They're making movements. Putin wants to deploy 500,000 troops, new troops into Ukraine to fully overrun Ukraine because Ukraine, the news is not reporting, the mainstream media is not reporting that Ukraine is losing the war and losing it badly. And so you got the tensions with China and Taiwan, the constant threat there, and we got U.S. troops in the island adjacent to China, in between China and Taiwan. We got U.S. troops deployed there in harm's way. So it seems like the whole world is either at war or on the verge of war.
And something that we haven't talked about personally that's always been in back of my head. A lot of, or I don't want to say a lot, but the U.S. citizens, we're not in a mindset that other countries are in. Nobody's trying to evade us. You know, nobody's taking a step into our backyard and saying, you know, we want this land or we're taking this away from you. Nobody's at a position or willing to do that. So we've become complacent into in our modern day lives that other countries haven't faced. So once again, the ones that get the most vocal are either the far left or the far right, and you have this huge silent majority that I call that is doesn't want to be implicated in the bigger pictures. Most Americans don't want to vote. Most Americans rally politics because they believe it's shady and ugly business, and all the politicians are crooks. So how do we get them to be more focused, more engaged with community politics, and all these issues that are going on in the world? Um, that's one of the dilemmas I've been having to face. But having individuals like you speak out, bring up these topics is what's encouraging me to also push forward. So, besides my time in the military, besides my time in the nonprofit world, and now my biggest, the component that matters here is the politics, my political stance, my political work. I've been doing my best to try to get people more involved into politics so they can see what's going on. I would love for people to focus their attention on what I'm doing, but to be frank, I just been trying to get people just to be involved. This election year is an important year. The conflicts that we're going to have to face with are going to be those that you just talked about across the board. Those are things that we're going to have a leader to be in place to to um to combat those issues, have resolutions and compromise that we have to trust. And I don't believe the person that's in power at the moment is our best candidate. Richie Torres, he does the bare minimum of his job. If you recently hear him that, oh, I got $13 million from the community right now, 50 million from here. That's your job. That's your job to get money, and it's going to be automatic. How much you get, where you separate, that's where it should be implemented. You should be able to go more. The people that you represent, you shouldn't have a 300% or more Twitter or response on one particular group. Where the Bronx is diverse. There are Israelis, Palestinians, Hispanic, the African American population. Where are their voices? Where are their push for the community that we need to see? Because if you want to say he's been doing what he needs to do, then why are we still the poorest district in the nation?
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna see if I can invite someone else that's in politics. Hold on. Actually, I got a few people. If you got anybody that you want to try to contact to get on here, you could do so as well. Send them the direct link that I sent you. But let me get him right now. Let's see if I can get him. My phone's blowing up here with so many responses and some people cursing me out. And but join.
Well, are they cursing you out on because of your stance, or just
because of my stance, and I'm full of shit, and go fuck yourself, you could die. I'm getting different responses here live on the air.
Well,
some people
let me know how they really feel about you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, social media, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Did you get any responses yet?
For me, like I said, the one that I mentioned, Jose, was really the only one that's political that I can think that's online right now. Yeah, I don't got anybody online at the moment.
I'm trying to get Jonathan Rinaldi. I made the ballot.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm trying to get him. So yeah, we're trying to get him. I'm trying to contact other people I know. I'm trying to get a Democrat to come on here. That's what I'm trying to do. I would love to get someone that either the state level or federal level that's in Congress or the House of Representatives. I'm trying to get somebody on here too, so we can hear their point of view.
That's right. I'm a conservative. You're a Republican. A Democrat would be bad.
Yeah, right. Republican, conservative. Yeah, we're trying to get a. Let me try to get him live right now. Yeah, I'm blowing up his phone. I'm blowing up a few people's phones. Yeah. Anybody else you want me to try to contact?
Anybody that I can see is not online right now, unfortunately. Like when you need somebody, they're not there. But when you don't need them,
exactly right. Yeah, when we need somebody, then But then when we don't need them, they're and I'm sorry.
If you don't mind, like I'm not trying to sway the conversation from what we were talking about earlier, but since I have this opportunity, if I can talk about what I've done for the politics in the last year, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, the floor is yours, of course. Go ahead.
While you look for somebody, I'll interject and get some candidate time if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So, this year I'm really proud of the work that has been happening this year. At the moment, I don't want to say it officially, but unofficially, we have 19 of the 21 slates that we put in for elected positions this year. So I'm very happy about that. I would say about 13 or 14 of them were working with me to be put that push in for office. These are people, and a lot of them are from individuals that I've met over the last year from my other campaign for city council last year. These individuals, I in the South Bronx, majority of the individuals and the districts that I cover for my based off of where I live, I've brought in over 100 conservatives into the Conservative Party in the last year or so, and I'm very proud of that because a lot of them happen to be Republicans or Democrats or didn't have a party or were not registered. So to get that diversity means a lot, and listening to what they've wanted to do has been pushing me towards getting certain things done. So one of the main things people say is we have nobody who's willing to compete with these politicians because majority of them are just walking into office without any oppositions. And even in their own party, there's no opposition because they're basically handpicked on who's going to run, And now that this particular year we have so many that are opposing them, I'm hoping to keep this trend. Now this year we have a few Republicans on our slates because we didn't have individuals from those areas. I'm going to focus my attention on getting those individuals as well, so that next year or and every year after that we have conservative opposition on the slates. Me getting the Republican and conservative lines this year for Congress is a big deal. I wouldn't have been able to be in the position if in that time frame the organization didn't become more organized and have a solid structure that it has this upcoming year, this upcoming election, which is I'm very proud of. This past year we've held I think about 12 events. Now we're doing monthly party meetings for the community in different parts of the Bronx. We've increased our numbers. When we started doing our monthly meetings, we had maybe a handful of people plus, and now each time we have to look for a bigger venue to have our meetings. We've made some breakthrough in radio. We've made some breakthroughs through periodicals. We're hoping that this year brings in some television media, because one of the oppositions that we face of individuals, and not just particular me, but individuals trying to run against the status quo, is that you normally get blacklisted from the media. So having independent and other platforms to go in, FYI, Who's Next NYC, DJ Loudmouth, the Vero G, and all your other entities that you have, giving individuals. I mean, not only for the candidates, politicians, but also indie music representative, because once again, a large portion of your viewers being in not only mainstream and urban music and indie, those individuals need to hear what's going on because they're the voices of the local communities, the local areas, hoods, etc. However you want to phrase it, those individuals have a huge appeal. Your voice hitting other, I think you said over 20 platforms earlier, makes.
No, over 200.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said over 200 platforms. I know there was a 2 and a 0 somewhere. So
yeah,
200 different platforms makes it. It may not help the specific district that a person's in, but it helps broaden somebody to listen to a different opinion and hopefully make a judgment. So I bring all that to say, running in my campaign this year, my goal is to try to get more individuals to get the ability to know that, well, first of all, there are elections this year. Most of them only know or are going to vote for the president, and that's it.
Yeah.
So how do we get them to know that there's local government, because local government, I believe, is more important than national. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, this, and that," but everything that affects you, let's say how fast you drive to your school, to what businesses are within your local district, um, affects you through your local politics. So having your, let's say, the non-legislative, the district leaders, the state committeemen, the county committees is one. Then when you go to your legislative, you have state assembly, city council, senate, etc., Congress. This year not only the president is going to be picked, but your local congressman is going to be picked as well.
Yeah, I'm just tagging people while you're talking. I'm just tagging people to get on here. I invited Patrick McManus, of course, the chairman.
So the chairman, he's one of the first people that I would ask to come on. But from my understanding, he's on his way to New Jersey, and he might be stuck in traffic. So that's one of the reasons.
Well, he could join us in the car, because I don't know if you know, our radio station's in everybody's cars as well. So you can listen to Who's Next NYC FM radio digitally on any of your cars, digital radio. Either you put in or your voice activated. You put in or say Who's Next NYC FM radio, and it will appear. Or you go to the TuneIn radio, TuneIn app on your car, and you put in Who's Next NYC FM, or any program you have in your car that gets digital radio like Sirius XM. You'll find Who's Next NYC FM radio, and that's worldwide. So people listen to us daily, 24/7 in Germany, France, Australia, Italy, Japan, China, Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East. We have a big Middle East listener base. They love hip hop, R&B, and so yeah, you can literally listen to Who's Next NYC FM worldwide, 24/7, all platforms, all cars. We got contracts with Tesla cars. We're in all Tesla cars, all Tesla cars on their radio. Honda cars, BMWs, Volkswagen, and we have more partnerships and distribution, worldwide syndication. So if you haven't yet, soon the whole world will know and hear Who's Next NYC FM radio with DJ Loudmouth BLG and the Honorable Gonzalo Duran. Our next U.S. Congressman in New York 15 in January 2025. I'm assured that the Honorable Gonzalo Duran will be the next congressman, representative of the Bronx, to represent the U.S. Congress.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that.
And make sure to vote for them.
Honestly, we do need different representation. My goal right now, and what I would love to do, is to clean the slate completely, because as these politicians feel too comfortable in their positions, in their seats, our voices are heard less and less, and more by lobbyists and the bureaucrats that are being and the PACs that are paying for them is taking over more than it should be.
No, definitely. I'm just tagging more people, but okay, let's say let me move this thing here so people can see your face. All right, let's cut to the chase here. Let's say you get elected November 5th, you get elected to U.S. House, Congress, the whole thing. What is your agenda? What would be your agenda in the first 100 days that you're in office?
That's a good question. Well, one of the things that I would like to make sure, and remember, there's no particular guideline on what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Until you're sitting in that chair, you don't really know what's going to happen, what's in front of you. But I know for a fact that one of my goals would be to try to get visibility with all the communities within my area. Because one of the big things that people don't know is that if you're going to run for Congress, you're literally living somewhere else as well. So you have to get an apartment up there in Albany to go back and forth to. And it's a whole different lifestyle after that. Getting
Everything changes. Whole life.
everything changes, and on top of that, there's never. I don't believe there's ever been a congressional candidate for the Conservative Party. So
Be
that
the
would,
first.
that would be a big deal in itself, right there, having the first conservative in that type of office. So getting to know the communities more, because once again, I've been raised. I was born and raised in the South Bronx, and I've done work all over the city and outside of the states in different states. But once again, I'm still not known as a politician, so I would want to get across and get to know all the districts within my within my all the towns, places within my district. Get it, formulate more groups with different community leaders to try to get their voices heard, try to implement more programs, see what the needs are for them, what they want at the immediate, and they're gonna have to be a lot of compromise as well. Then when it comes to the broader aspect of it, is trying to get where we're gonna have to be at the global scale, at the national level. National politics is a big thing. Where we are now may not be the same in in a couple months. What if we're in a wartime efforts and stuff is going on? How do I jump into something like that? How often does that even happen? For my in my generation, we've had conflicts, but we haven't had war.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm gonna have to get a crash course in when I'm up there. But I'm gonna rely on a lot of my I can't think of a better word for it right now, but my cabinet leaders, because I don't have um I don't have all the positions that I need at the moment for different but they're gonna come out the woodworks, and the people
Yeah.
that are with me over the years to put me in this position I am now, plus the ones that are gonna come after that, is I'm gonna have to work on formulating those as well. Bringing it all together. I know for a fact what I do want to do is one of the things on my list is to have increase my contact ability with the constituents. If you look right now, a lot of the problems that the people are going to that say within the communities is that we don't know who our elected official is. We don't know what they're doing at the time. If I have to go around with a bullhorn saying, "Hey, I'm Gonzalo Duran,"
With DJ Lambo.
yeah, and DJ Lambo right next to me, right there. I am your congressman. Jump on my contact list so you know what's going on in the district. I want more. I want to make sure that they know where the public meetings are. When I'm going to be at the public meetings, I'm going to try to go to community boards, uh, city council boards, meetings as much as I can. The police, everything that I can and possibly can be done, because I know for a fact there it doesn't happen at the moment. I believe one of the biggest things is to show these politicians what true leadership looks like, what command of a position actually looks like, and not just taking the position and then showing up when it's voting season, or working towards getting the next vote or the next position up. I will dedicate everything. Like, I mean, you know what I do now: newspaper, talk show, nonprofit executive. I'm a politician. On the weekends, on top of that, I'm a mentor for teens, at-risk teens. I would subsidize all that to focus 100% of my attention on that position as congressman alone. Because you have to understand, also being a congressman, it's only 2 years. That means one full year of focusing on getting work, and then the other is basically campaigning for the next election. So how do you balance all that, getting all that together? But I think it can be done. I want to do it, and I believe I'm capable of doing it better than what is being done right now.
Definitely. No, I agree with you 100%. You have a proven track record as whether it be in the military, community leader, activist, nonprofit, private sector, nonprofit and private sector, and being in the Conservative Party, now representing being on the ballot as on the Republican line, and as well as a conservative as well. Conservative Party, I commend you for everything that you have done and you continue to do. And you do it through action, not words, not tweets. You do it through action, and you've been doing it through action. And I believe and confident, and all your supporters out there, your donors, your future donors, are confident that you are a man of action and you will get things done once you're in Congress, representing the Bronx, and and you will definitely put America first, and you will lead to peaceful solutions, and and avoid conflicts, and be more fiscal responsible, and have accountability, because we're at deficit now, almost $30 trillion, and just imagine if we're at a full war with Iran and multiple Middle Eastern countries, and God forbid, if we get in direct conflict with Russia or China, North Korea, how many more trillions of dollars we're gonna spend, and millions of troops we're gonna send, in harm's way, and the worst scenario of them all, if we have nuclear war or even a single nuclear exchange, that's unfathomable. We saw what happened in World War II and the devastation, and 100 million people or more died on all sides, and we saw the bombs drop in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and God forbid, we see that happen in Israel, we see that happen in Iran, we see that happen in China, Russia, South Korea, North Korea, God forbid the United States. A country cannot invade us militarily, but they could do it through ballistic missiles that could travel thousands of miles. And our U.S. troops are stationed all around the world. They are direct targets. And they are direct targets right now with Iran and Iranian proxies. So we have to have our thoughts and prayers with them right now, first and foremost.
So breaking news right now. Is someone follow Colin Ruggs at Colin Ruggs, COLLINGUGG.
Yes.
United States officials believe 400 to 500 drones and missiles will be launched at Israel. The United States predicts that about 85% of the drones and missiles will be intercepted. The United States also appears to be ignoring Iran's warnings and will be assisting Israel interception. Everything that passes over U.S. ships, ABC News, parentheses, ABC News, up to 500 drones and missiles are expected to be launched from Iran, Iraq, Syria, southern Lebanon, and basically what we just said a couple minutes ago. Unifying. That's those are one of that's been, like I said, and this is what we've talked about behind the scenes is unification of those organizations, those countries, those Arab nations. Right there, that's where the serious notes come from. That's where you're gonna have to get your pants, tighten that up right there.
That means we're out of World War.
Once again, nobody's saying
and
it
a
yet,
full Middle Eastern war.
But the possibility of war happening is more realistic. When you remember when we were facing the North Korea issues right there, how many, in my time frame growing up, I didn't know what the concept of war was until 9/11, and until not until seeing what was going on was I even as a child not understanding the full ramifications of what that meant until the day came where they were like, hey, get your vaccine shot for whatever the thing was at the time, and we're shipping you off next week. I'm like, damn, okay, this is it. This is with all the training, this is what all the things that's been coming for the last couple months of preparation, and going to even going to Iraq, wasn't something that the mindset was there until we hit the ground. You know, having your weapons 24/7, warnings from the camp, understanding the paperwork that encompasses what one day you have troops here, and then one day you don't. What does that mean? That means lives lost or troops moving. And you know everything that happened after that, the money spent, the lives lost, are things that, once again, the younger generation right now may not understand, but depending on how long this conflict issue involves us or it goes on, will affect the next generation of our youth. How we,
we may not have a next generation if this goes nuclear. And that's a real possibility now, a realistic possibility. Especially
and for the viewers that may not really, may think this is like a movie or something. No, that could actually happen. Everybody right now is just what do you call it? Playing the dice on who's gonna do it first, and nobody wants to do it, but the button pressed, and then you don't know what's gonna happen after that.
Yeah. Just to even mention that, I get goosebumps. My hair flip.
I got just understanding that in my lifetime I was hoping I would never see another a war happen, and if we can avoid this one, that should be the goal. But America is strong. I believe I believe in America, and we're always going to take care of ourselves, and we're going to defend our nation the best we can.
So, definitely. So where do you feel our stance should be? Obviously, because of this evolving situation, and several countries are joining forces now. This is going to be a full ongoing campaign, and we're just in the very minutes of it, the beginning of it.
I got what you're saying. So, my position is not going to change. I'm in the middle of this conflict. I'm always going to be in the middle because, once again, it's not our war. This is but humanitarian and thinking about America's interest. Israel has been our ally in the East. That's why we're funding them. That's where we're backing them. And I would support them if I believe that it's a necessary into closing the gap to stopping the war. That would be my goal. But there has to be other, I can't call up a general right now and say, hey, what can we do to do something else, or how can we prevent this from going on? If they're preparing missiles, we can only do one other thing. We have to defend our allies. We have to prepare ourselves as well. America is the strongest. We have the strongest military in the world, and we pay for them for a reason. We have to get them ready. We have to get the troops ready. But
so if it's confirmed that Iran has directly attacked U.S. forces beyond Israel, if it's confirmed, once it's confirmed, that Iran directly, not through proxies and the other bullshit, direct confirmation that Iran has attacked directly, injured or killed U.S. forces anywhere around the globe or in the Middle East, does that provoke, does that activate Article 5 under NATO, and NATO would officially have to respond?
From my knowledge, yes. But once again, Congress, it can only declare war. NATO's job is to the UN's job is to stop war, and NATO's job is to
be the enforcers of it.
Yeah,
the peacekeepers, the guarantee of that.
To is part of the fighting efforts of the war. So for America purposes, America's interest, then if we're attacked, then we have to retaliate. Period. Then that will bring our efforts to it. Once again, Congress still has to declare war. The president can send troops and he can do stuff, but he can't declare war. So, but
that hasn't stopped. I mean, you keep saying that, but that hasn't stopped previous presidents of taking military action against state actors, terrorists, and stuff like that. The president has executive powers beyond the spectrum. Of course, traditionally and under the Constitution, you need Congress to authorize war, but in legal parameters, the president has executive authority at any time, including pressing the button, as they will, and authorizing a nuclear strike. I'm not saying we're going to get to that level, but I'm trying to say, in general speaking, the president has the ultimate authority to take immediate action if there's a clear and present danger, immediate danger against U.S. forces, or the United States itself or homeland has the right and the authority to take immediate action.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the president is the commander in chief, so he has authorization to use troops and stuff like that. That's that nobody's disagreeing with that. But to declare war, obviously you do need Congress, and there's a difference between them because there's the general public of the American people as well, which is going to back Congress on the situation, because we've seen what happens when a president doesn't have Congress backing or the people backing as well. So
George W.
Yeah. So for me particularly, once again, my goal in a conflict, if we have to go not only in the conflict, but to begin with, I've said this during months ago when I put in my statement for a ceasefire, we need to have a concise plan on what we're going to do. We can't be, in the back saying, "Oh, let's see what happens." Or let's give one side all this money and weapons and all this other stuff, because it's been brought up to the situation where if it's one-sided, then are we all in agreement to go one-sided on one group? Yeah. Because once again, those protests that are happening in the Bronx, which I'm surprised that they've been happening, it's not one-sided. We have a conflict of interest, and until we get unified, that's one problem right there. But for the discussion that we're having, America needs to have a concise plan of what we're going to do instead of just giving money away and without it being any accountability towards it. Money and weapons with no accountability towards it. So I think that answered the question.
So where do we go from here? Besides, obviously, going out and voting. You want change in America, you have to go out and vote. And whether it's Republican, Democrat, Independent, Conservative, whatever you believe in, go out and vote. if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. Then you shouldn't complain unless you're gonna be a part of that change. And I get people arguments. We had discussions about this on the radio with artists, with regular people, and some of them say, "Well, why should I bother to vote? Nothing's gonna change." I don't have a voice. It doesn't matter who gets elected. It's all the same shit. Nothing's gonna change.
And what you're saying is what I hear every year, and constantly from people while I'm petitioning, while I'm trying to get civic engagements done. That's what I constantly hear. Well, what does it matter if I sign up or if I vote, if nothing's going to change? You being complicit in that makes it easier for no change to happen.
Exactly.
And for example, the 100 plus people that I had registered to vote, registered or updated their voter registration in the last year, a good portion of them are now currently running for office this year. Now, on top of that, those people that we've involved in those engagements are now going to functions. They're going to getting signatures from. They're getting the ability to get their voices heard when they weren't before. And if we don't take this momentum, this show of force to the politicians in place, and they know they can walk into a position. Most judges don't have competitions. The district attorney,
they go unopposed. A lot of people go unopposed.
The district attorney for last year went unopposed. Judges that are in place unopposed.
I should put myself in there.
Hey, if you want, I'll stop by with a voter registration for you. You can sign up, and I'll even show you who to talk to, so you can try to get in the position of your local party. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I run, we had some discussions about this on air, off the air. If I run, it's either going to be mayor, governor, or president.
Now, understand that those levels of signatures are high. Just an FYI.
I would need some million and billion dollar donors, but I would only do it if I have the infrastructure and I have the support, the grassroots movement like we have here with our movement with Who's Next NYC Radio and the VOG Spotlight TV radio. We started almost 10 years ago in a cable access station on 59th Street, Manhattan. And now we have a platform for the past 4 years that we reach and talk to hundreds of thousands of people around the country and the world. So imagine if we activate those hundreds of thousands of people, especially if they're New York City, New York State, or United States, into voters, and weaponize them at the ballot box and get them to come out and vote. You're talking about a movement there, and locally in New York City or New York State, if you get 500,000 people to go to vote for you, or 1 million people, you're probably going to get elected.
I love the way you already have the positions in place, and you have the voices that you need, and you have an idea already of the positions you want. That's beautiful. All right. And we need more of that. Now, for the individuals that are out there, for you guys to understand, there's the legislative part, which DJ Loudmouth is all about. But there are also non-legislative county level positions, district leaders, vice chairmen. I'm the vice chairman for the Bronx County Conservative Party. There's also state committeemen and county committees, which are non-paid positions. But because they're non-paid, they normally have a lower signature and cost for campaigning than the other ones. When you're running for mayor, you need millions of dollars, and you need tens of thousands. Honestly, I don't know how many signatures because I've never looked into that. I'm assuming you need, maybe close to, 50,000 signatures or something.
To accessory be on the ballot for mayor, New York City, you need at least 200,000 or 300,000. That's what Eric Adams needed. It was like 300. He just made it too, because he had a challenge. So obviously, he had several challenges when he ran for mayor, and just to make the primary, and he needed over 300,000. I know the exact 306,000 votes, which got him over the threshold over 300,000, because he had several opponents, and he had one opponent that had almost 300,000 votes, but she fell just short of reaching the ballot. So he got that, and then obviously he wound up going to the general and wound up obviously getting elected.
Yeah, well, yeah,
But,
just for people to understand as well, just to put this in there, there's the set amount of signatures that you need, and then 3 or 4 times more of that because of challenges, which is important. So let's say for I'm just throwing a random example. Let's say for me, for running for Congress, I need 100 signatures, right? But I'm gonna have to expect to get 400 or 500 signatures because the person that's gonna challenge me is just gonna say, if I got 400, they're gonna say 350 of them don't count, and then that'll put me back at 50, and then I need another 50, so I'm out of the race right there. That's how that works. And if you don't have a lawyer, if you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to back you up, then right there, that's you're gone. There's no competition once again. Luckily for the Conservative Party, we've done our due diligence. This particular year, we have literally, out of the 21 slates possible, we have 19. We lost one because of signatures, and what's it called? One was challenged, one dropped out. So to have this many, I'm very proud to be not only a candidate, but also in the executive board for the party that helped facilitate that this year.
Yeah, it's commendable what you have done in a short period of time. It's you went from last year having a 5% quota of getting 5% of registered voters to switch to Conservative Party, to register for the Conservative Party, and I think you surpassed since then. I think you surpassed 10% or higher.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So I misinformed you. So I gave you fake news. I'm sorry about that. Oh no. Oh no.
Really?
Oh no.
Like
so I actually the tally was up, and it's over 15%.
So
wow. We grew the Bronx Conservative Party over 15% in the 1 year I was the vice chairman.
Wow, 15%.
That's a number. Now that's a number, and that's a number that the good old boys club is looking at in their little record sheets or whatever they're looking at to say, what is that guy doing there? What is he doing? What is he doing over there?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, once you start getting 15, 20, 25%, that's a sizable photo block there. That's a movement.
Well, for me, the way I look at that is still not a comparable. So just so the people can understand it, and I want to give them a little bit more information on the how the campaigns work. Just getting on how difficult it is to get on the ballot. So let's say for City Council, District 17, when I ran the previous year, I'm just throwing these numbers off. Don't quote me on them, but let's say there's over 100 and let's say there's over 180,000 individuals, right? Let's say 180,000 individuals, maybe 130,000 of them are even maybe registered to vote, right? Or have the ability to vote or register to vote. Let's say the city council person won with less than 3,500 votes. We're talking about tens of thousands of possible voters and winning a position that gives them 100,000 plus paycheck, a position of power that dictates what is going to happen to us in our positions, and then them using that position in corruption. I'm not trying to be negative when I say stuff like this, but nepotism grows across the board when it comes to politicians in this day of age at the moment. And I know for a fact, let's say putting your wife in a commissioner's position, who they may not have the pedigree for in their resume. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. People. It's both sides when you get elected into office at any level. You could do good, and there's also a lot of favoritism and stuff like that. A lot of people, could do some stuff, underhand stuff, money on the table, hook up their friends and family, relatives into just paid positions, contracts, real estate contracts, labor contracts, favorable terms, and the whole thing, and stuff like that. That's why we need someone like you that will be a watchdog, if you will, to hold people accountable, to make sure that our tax dollars and there's no underhanded stuff going on. A lot of people won't touch these topics with a 10-foot pole, but we're out here publicly saying it, and we have the proof to back it up with several people.
And it's unfortunate that these things they're publicly known, but they go past like it's not.
Look at Bob Melendez. There's so many stories on both sides, Republican, Democrat, of wrongdoing.
Yep. The last city administration, when I can't remember the name of the
administration.
The Blasio administration, when he made his the first lady a position, I can't remember what it was, that the mental health program that they had. There's millions upon millions of dollars missing, and nobody questioned it. They let it go. Like, imagine telling the American public, the city of New York, that there's millions of dollars that you gave your wife a position and created a whole organization based off of it, and then lost millions and millions of dollars unaccounted for. Yet the people nobody outraged. Nothing happened. There's no repercussion for that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know one of the things that I believe is that the Democrats and the Republicans are so intertwined with each other that it really doesn't matter. There's no accountability. One of the things that I love about our government is that we have a check and balance. The executive branch and the judicial branch and et cetera. There's a check and balance with everybody. You can't do this without that. The president can't declare war without Congress. The bills can get challenged by the Supreme Court, et cetera, right? But who's here to watch the Republicans and the Democrats? If you go to C-SPAN and you watch them, it's embarrassing. They look like school kids yelling at each other and yelling out loud. And I'm like, wow, these people are millionaires now based off of the illegal things that they're doing.
Yeah, look at Nancy Pelosi and other people in Congress. She has a salary of about 200-something thousand a year, but somehow she was an expert in the stock market, and not even the top people on Wall Street, which is where our station is nearby, right down the block from Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange. Somehow she's a financial wizard and could predict the stock market, and she made hundreds of millions of dollars in the stock market the past several years and decades. So how can a public elected official that gets a salary of $200,000 to $400,000 a year be worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars? But and that's allowable because they're elected official, obviously in power. But if me and you had inside information to the stock market and could do stuff like that, our asses would be in prison.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And right now
Share the information with us,
yeah,
Nancy. Please
these,
share it. DM me even one stock that we could invest in, and we can have a party together, and on one your private your private yacht.
well, once again, so these individuals, these politicians have immunity regarding insider trading and stuff. So
Mm,
now
mm.
that's something that I pledged on my website. That's something that I pledged on my website that I would avoid doing any insider trading while I was in office, because I think that's what's that's something that determines the office and your ability to be a leader to begin with. So I've pledged not to do that. Um, I would make my money the old-fashioned way by working hard and doing the job that needs to be done. Um,
And you previously when you ran for city council, you pledged that if elected, that you would donate half your salary, that you will only accept a 50%, that you would have a 50% reduction in your salary, so you could allocate those funds to charitable organizations and stuff like that.
so
Would you make any kind of commitment like that if elected to Congress?
for Congress, I wouldn't. I'm going to say why. What I said
Okay.
earlier was once you become a congressperson, you technically live in two areas. So I would have to get an apartment up in Albany,
Yeah.
so that sets me aside. That puts me back at a hold. But I want to make it very clear. The reason why I did it for city council was because it's within my area. But I just jump on a train and I'm in city council right there. Plus, city council gave themselves a 38% or something like that. Once again, don't quote me, but over a 38, I believe a 38% raise on themselves unanimously, I believe. You think you guys are doing a good enough job that you can give yourself a 38% raise? Where else can you go in the job market and say, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a 20% raise just because.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
You know, it sounds nice, right? How many people would love that opportunity and say, oh, I'm going to give myself a raise, you know? And they don't work 365 days a year, you know?
No.
They're only in sessions, certain
Yeah.
time,
It's a joke. I mean, look, they're always on vacation. They're always on break. Look at President Biden. He spent more days on vacation than he's been in office.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Congress and the Senate and the whole thing, and they're living off of taxpayer dollars. And it's a lot of waste of taxpayer dollars as well. Well, I have you on here. It's a hot topic. The hottest, besides the war and everything, is the hottest thing that's been going on in the news the past couple of years, and of course, that is former President Donald J. Trump. And I got you on here now, we might as well go all the way with it. I'm gonna throw this at you. I'm gonna lead into it, and let me get the graphic on here. Here we go. I did invite former President Trump to come on our show either virtually or in person, and of course, I've been having correspondence with his campaign. There's a lot of hoops to go through, as you can imagine, for someone of that stature. The leading Republican nominee, the former president of the United States, perhaps the next president of the United States. Also, someone that has 91 state and federal indictments. And when I mention indictments, I'm talking about a former sitting president of the United States. And you mentioned earlier that elected, like people in Congress and president, have immunity for certain things. But somehow, former President Trump, regardless if you're for him, against him, love him, hate him, whatever side you're on, okay, that's cool. We're Americans. We can have this open discussion. like we're doing now with the Honorable Gonzalo Durant, candidate for be a U.S. representative for Congress on New York 15. You could learn more about his campaign and to donate or whatever, could volunteer at gonzalodurant.nyc, gonzalodurant.nyc. But let's check this out real quickly here. How can a former president of the United States have more indictments than John Gotti? Think about that. I know you're going to chomping at the bit for your response. How can a former president of the United States have more indictments than someone who allegedly, maybe or maybe not, murdered people in organized crime and the biggest organized crime mafia family in the history of America? How is that possible? Talk to me. Tell me.
So this is the controversial parts that we have, and I want to make it clear that I'm not an expert when it comes to the immunity procedures for the politicians. That's why I kept my information at the city council because I know them pretty well. Now, when it comes to the president, I understand that unless the president does something like a murder or something, some capital punishment type of thing, they have immunity on a lot of things. While they're sitting in office, because you can't run a country if you're fighting all these things at the same time. Like Bill Clinton with his sex scandal, that was a different level. It had nothing to do with, it came from one small things on the left, and then it came to the sexual problems that happened on the right, because they tried to get him for one thing. They couldn't get him for one thing, so they got him for another thing.
President Reagan, towards the end of his second term, with the whole Noriega scandal, with the Contras and the whole thing, which he almost got impeached for. He came very close to getting impeached and removed from office. Like Richard Nixon, President Nixon, the whole thing with the Watergate scandal and the whole thing, so, but
back on track, to keep back on track.
Yeah. But Trump,
the stuff that's going on with Trump is no different than what has happened to other politicians or presidents, such as when Hillary Clinton, when she was the
Secretary
of State, and currently Joe Biden, President Biden, with his problem with his paperwork. He went to court, and it was determined, I believe, that he wasn't able to be, he didn't have the capability of being able to continue within the court proceedings. That's what I remember. The one part said that he would be too likable or something like that to the American public, so he wouldn't be able to be tried. And then the second part was they didn't believe he had the mental capacity to be able to continue in that form.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you're telling me that President Biden was caught doing the same thing that former President Trump, with the mishandling of classified documents, which a president does have immunity with that, so to a certain extent, but they didn't. The federal investigators decided not to prosecute or indict current President Biden because of his mental capacity.
So yes, that's the way I remember it being unfolded, and they didn't go further. I'm not going to say indicted or the other way, but they didn't go further with the proceedings because of one, they didn't believe that he could go in court and his likability would be questioned. Like he wouldn't get a fair trial. That's one of them.
So before you continue, one step at a time. So if a person such as, all right, so for example, let's put it in the business world, since you have you're in the business corporate world as well. So if you had a CEO of a company that was found to be mentally incompetent, wouldn't the board of directors vote to remove that person?
Yes, absolutely.
They would
Uh,
not be able to continue uh, through mental defect, mental impairment. They would not be able to continue holding the position that they serve.
I can tell you right now, as a nonprofit, as the CEO of a nonprofit, if there was any question regarding my mental capacity, there are two people outside of me that are executive board members, and one vote over or a two-thirds vote would immediately remove me from office. That's simple. Even if
Okay.
I could go to court and everything, I could fight it. But once again, the laws are corporate laws are are similar in the fashion that two-thirds vote, boom, I'm out.
All right. So now we're talking about the commander in chief that has access to nuclear weapons that could launch a nuclear attack against any country, anybody at any time. That should automatically, if we're going to get at that level, what you just mentioned, then the current commander in chief, um, Article 25 should be invoked in his cabinet or by Congress to remove President Biden from office because he is mentally unfit. If it said the report's there word for word, you can look it up online by the
You're looking it up right now.
investigators. Then that person should not be holding the position that they currently hold. And then
So,
Kamala Harris should
but
be sworn.
before we jump into the other topic, because I know you're going hard. I like it. I love it. But to get the situation.
And I love Biden, by the way. I love
Yeah.
Biden. I don't want people saying I'm anti-Biden, but continue.
To get the situation, at the finite as possible. You had that situation come up that other politicians have gone through who have done similar things, right? But aren't getting crucified, such as Trump is right now. And the problem that we're having in this bipartisan government right now is the ramification of that. If we're indicting the past president, when Trump gets into office, what is he going to do? He's going to try to go get, the same thing to, Biden. And then it's going to happen again and again and again and again. And instead of working onto the American people, we're focusing on those issues. Now, once again, if somebody does something illegal, they should be tried. I'm not saying you shouldn't escape justice, but I would like to throw something that I do know military-wise. Let's say a general, a one-star general, four-star general. It does, in the intelligence field, and this is something I came across in my time of service because I was the administrator for intelligence units when I was in the service. Let's say there was a brand new general that just got promoted, and there he might have picked up a classified file, right? Now this classified file, you need to be have classified status, right?
Yeah,
well, a general automatically, unless things have changed since I've been in, automatically has classified authorization. So when it comes to the president, it's at a different level. They're at a different level. They have some leeway on how they take care of confidential documents. Obviously, President Trump did a lot of work in Mar-a-Lago, and that's where a lot of the problems came in. Did he?
Yeah, they said that was the White House of the South. Yeah.
Did he handle it right? Did he do something that was inappropriate, perjury? Whatever. I don't know. I didn't follow it too much because once again, we're talking about a past president, and if it's not affecting currently issues going on right now, I'm trying to get food on my table. Do I care about the president handling a document that
that's not it. Yeah.
to something that's going on right now? I would hope he didn't, but I don't know. And once again, I'm trying to get dinner ready. So but there was another part that you said. and this bipartisan government that we're in right now, if we don't have somebody as a watchdog, that's not in the confliction of these people, then we're going to continuously have these type of problems. So me being the first conservative in a position, I would love that opportunity. I would love to be separate from these guys. I know it's not going to be looked at because the conservatives are more, seen as Republicans. But
Yeah.
to the people out there, look, I'm not on the far left. I'm not on the far right. I'm in the middle. I'm for you. I am for the working person. I, consider me the working family, the working party person that has your best interest at heart. I've had this running joke that I've only said privately. I've never said it publicly like here. I am the upper low class. Okay, I'm not in the middle class. I'm not the lower middle class. I am the upper low class. Okay, I would like to make the middle class. I would like to be in the middle class. I don't ever see myself being in the upper echelon rich class, because the work and the things I like to do are to help the people. And if I've made my whole career, my 20 my almost 20 years of adulthood, I spent half of it serving our country. I spent the other half serving the Bronx, the great state of New York, and as much as I can, veterans across the nation. Um, so I believe it's the best interest to try to get the middle class, the working man's point of view, his voice out, his objective to be the center stage. Because let's say in somewhere like in New York, I can't afford to live in New York right now. I can't afford to live in the Bronx almost. Unless I'm on public assistance or Section 8 or I'm rich, I got lucky that I got my apartment. I was able to get my apartment just in the nick of time before everything skyrocketed more.
Yeah.
Because I lived in Little Italy in the Bronx, and they forced me out. They wouldn't even give me the ability to
go to court or
no, they wouldn't even give me the ability to renew a lease. They're like, no, just get out of here. Just get out of here.
Yeah.
We want it for the students, or the doctor. We don't want it for you. We just don't want you here. Get out. And I try to buy a house, and obviously I would try to use the Veterans Home Loan, but it's not a guarantee. They call it a guarantee, but it's not a guarantee. You have to have a credit score, down payment, and a certain amount of income to afford the loan for the VA loan itself, which in New York, you're looking at $500,000 or more for a house. And a single individual really normally doesn't have that much money, to be honest. And I work at a small nonprofit. I don't make hundreds of thousands or $1 million paycheck. So I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, but I can't just fund my campaign either. I don't know. I'm trying to put a little joke in there, but perspective so people can understand.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
You're the Rocky Balboa of politics.
I'm trying to be. But to keep it in perspective, what we were talking earlier, you invited Trump on the radio and the other platforms. I am, as a conservative, everybody would assume that I'm a MAGA or Trump supporter. Once again, I'm in the middle of situations like this. I'm not against the Democratic Party. I'm against the Democratic machine. And I am not automatically a Trump supporter. Do I believe that he can fix our country? Yes. Do I believe out of the two, he's the best? Yes.
And to fix our economy.
And to fix our economy, yes. Out of the two, I would pick Trump. I have not voted for Trump. I don't plan to vote for Trump. But I have done everything I could possibly do to put him in a position of office within the eyes of the constituents of the Bronx. Because not only do I believe, once again, that he could fix the country and the economy. But I don't like what has been happening the last 4 years. I've seen it's been hurting the way the Bronx has the Bronx is not doing good. The Bronx isn't doing good, and a lot of parts of the city, the state, and the countries aren't either. But I have made an open invitation, just to give an examples of what I've done to in support of President or soon to be President Trump, which I think he is going to win. Um, I believe the Democratic Party has been the best advocate for Trump because all these indictments have given him the ability to say, look, I'm being persecuted by these people. I'm the victim. And what you can see once again is these other people have done it, but they're not getting in trouble. It's just me right now. So it gives them a wider perspective of media for free, which we all know he loves, which we know he loves. It gives them the underdog story on top of that, because he lost before, and the way he lost was controversial. Um, and now, um, it if you see the dynamics of, let's say, the Bronx has been heavily Democratic. We just got our first Republican city council, or just in general, in the last 40 years, our first Republican person in office in the Bronx, which has always been heavily Democratic. And the Conservative Party was the deciding factor in putting that person into office. That being said, the wave of conservatism that I believe, I just told you, in the South Bronx, I was able to get 100 plus individuals to update their voter registration from Democrats, Republicans, blanks, and people that hadn't been registered to vote to join the party. So they want to see change as well. When I wrote my article, my invitation to Trump, I didn't just write an article saying, Trump, I want you to come to the Bronx. No, I asked dozens and dozens of individuals to tell me who they believe the next president should be and why. And I got a lot of people yelling at me saying it should be Biden. Now, they were yelling at me saying Biden should be president, but they wouldn't give me publicly on why they believe he should be president. And this is the time frame where he got that judgment, that judgment that I mentioned to you earlier about not being competent. And then you see all the stories of him falling down and being incoherent during his speeches. So it was a lot of questionable things right there. And then the people that were for Trump gave me pages of information, pages of why they're voting for him and the reasons why, and in detailed. And I accumulated all that, and I sent it and I published it to the Bronx Daily on a systematic, detailed invitation on why. And now, would I vote for Trump? There would be a possibility, but for me to vote for him, I'm particular in where I give my votes. For me, to vote for somebody, I have to work with the person. I have to know the person. I have to shake the person's hand. And if I was given the opportunity to meet Donald Trump, and there was some way we could do all those things that I just mentioned, yes, I would give him my vote. Undoubtedly, if it was in a positive sense, and the outcome was what I wanted or wanted to hear, needed to hear. That's a possibility. So although I haven't, when the Conservative Party, once again, this is one of the first. So the Bronx County Conservative Party was one of the first to endorse Trump as president. And I put that meeting together. I wrote the endorsement letter, and I helped facilitate almost every aspect of that except for voting. I did I can't remember the technical term it's called, but I abstained from voting. But I made sure all of it happened.
Sorry to cut you off. I got breaking news from Twitter X verified that the U.S. has launched strikes directly into Iran against Iranian targets. There's been exchange of ballistic missiles, not only from Iran directly to Israel, but also U.S. Warships. U.S. warships have countered that. They have were able to knock down some missiles, incoming missiles, and U.S. forces, U.S. warships have counterattacked, and there's now active strikes going back and forth between U.S. forces, Israel, and Iran, back and forth. And also, Putin just made a statement, President Putin of Russia, that he will defend Iran's right and sovereignty, and Russia. Let me see, I get the correct statement here, but pretty much, long story short, that Putin, militarily wise, will step in, is willing to step in and defend Iran against any attack from the U.S., Israel, or any other country that attacks Iran. And that red line has already been drawn and surpassed, as ongoing now. There's been active missile strikes back and forth between the United States, Iran, and Israel, directly on Israel soil, Iranian soil, in their country, and against U.S. warships that are stationed there in the Middle East. That's breaking news.
Wow, that's crazy.
Continue.
Woo. Well, I mean, so that's another factor right there, throwing Putin out there. And I like to make some comparisons with Trump. So Putin, I believe this is like his 10th year in office or something like that. He got reelected recently, and when he did his election, there's a lot of controversies on the other people even being allowed to be candidates. Like we're not talking about having the ability. We're talking about even having the possibility of being candidates. So we all know he took his office. He has that strong point. That is something similar that is happening right now in our country with our presidency. Getting that I can't remember the law that they used, like the old what state was it? Not getting Biden, or excuse me, getting Trump removed off the ballot was an old time law.
All this, yeah.
It's like war, colonial time type of stuff we're talking about. Just to go that far to try to stop them shows that they're trying to do it what they do at the local level. Getting people, challenging them, knocking them off the ballot and not giving them the opportunity. Blacklisting them from media and not doing debates, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where Trump has come in, and even with the whole slate of Republicans, has knocked them out one by one by one. And since they see that he has the opportunity, they're just knocking everything they could do to try to get him off the ballot, which, once again, I think it's hurting them the most. So the Democratic Party is literally Trump's biggest supporter, which I find is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Before you continue, all right, I got an official statement from the office of the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. If the United States makes the slightest attack on Iranian soil in support of Israel, we will also enter the battle in support of Iran and will have direct military confrontation against the United States. And we just passed. If this is accurate, I'm seeing verified checks posting this, reliable media sources, so I believe this is to be true. I did my research on here to verify it. If that is true, and the U.S. has directly missile strikes on Iranian targets inside of Iran, then we have entered. We have, according to Putin, President Putin, Mr. Putin, we have crossed this red line, and we have the possibility to prepare for a direct confrontation with Russia entering this ever-growing war in the Middle East right now. And Biden, I'm seeing on here too, they have an emergency. They're in the Situation Room right now regarding all this late-breaking news, and this is escalating very quickly here as it's going, and yeah, so it's pretty scary right now. But continue.
So the reason I mentioned the Putnam situation is, once again, his iron fist right there just shows the determination that he has, not only on his countries, but what he's willing to do on during the conflicts. So when we started our conversation, we're talking about nuclear war. Whether with the debate of Iran has nuclear war or not, we know Russia does. So now we're going back to that finite situation. Who's going to hold the next button? So who else is going to join this war? How far is it going to go? Is this going to be the World War III that we've been expecting? Who do you want? Yeah. Who do you want at the table? The guy that couldn't get in trouble through the courts because of possible mental problems, or the guy that was able to put North Korea on check?
Yeah, that was crazy what Trump was able to do. Former President Trump to be the first sitting president to have the balls not only to go to meet the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, but to actually go to the DMZ line and shake his hand and walk over. The first sitting president.
He's like, I remember the video. Hey, can I walk over? Yeah, let's go. Let's go walk over.
And I'm sure that they enjoyed some Big Macs together and everything.
Now I'm sure he's escalated. He's upgraded to Chick-fil-A now.
Yeah, right. You started it. You're the first one, the Chick-fil-A trend, and now everybody's doing it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. And we tried to get guests. I guess Richie Torres is scared. We did try to get people to come on here. I invited a lot of people. Obviously, they're kind of busy right now, especially if they're elected official.
Look, this is a hard hitting topic, and the fact that we can't get people to talk is a scary situation, because one of the reasons why people aren't willing to talk about these subjects is because it can hurt them financially, work-wise, publicity-wise. It can blacklist them. But people like you and people like me have put ourselves in positions that, one, not only I don't want to say we don't care, but we want progress to happen. And this is something that I tell people all the time. And this is my personal quote. And I'm looking for it because I want to make sure I say it right. But what I tell people is that progress remains stagnant without the force of action. Mm-hmm. And you and your platform willing to say this and say that, will it hurt you? Will it help you? At the end of the day, your goal has always been to get the word out. For me, it's always been more of action, get my actions out to show the people. I've never really publicly spoken in this type of manner. There's people that have known me for like 10 years, and they're like, hey, Dan Gonzalo, we didn't know you could talk for more than 10 words, Yeah. But that's because my job has always been to do the work. I've only come out politically, publicly in the last 2 years but I've always been behind the scenes in politics. I've run for other offices or made the attempt for the paperwork so I can understand what would be entailed into me in this level of politics. When it's coming to the nonprofit world, I've done everything from Fox News, ABC, CBS, all the way down to BronxNet and Local News 12, multiple occasions. But I've never published it in my own social media platforms because I never needed that level of visibility or recognition, because to me it's always been about the work. When I'm running for Congress, these situations that are coming up are the situations that I want to handle directly, but I want the people to have my back. I want to have that huge silent majority to have my back. I don't want to go up there. I don't want to win office by let's say what I said earlier, the city council person with 130,000 possible voters winning by 3,500 votes. That's not the way I want to do it. I want the people to say, we believe in Gonzalo Duran. We want him to win. We want him in a position to speak on our behalf, to fight for us, and to make the hard decisions that need to be made. So
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you want to address or talk about before we end this live breaking news here on Who's Next NYC FM radio?
yes, so obviously with the conflict going out, my heart goes out to the individuals. I'm going to say a prayer for you guys later today, not only for the people that are going to be, affected by this, but also to the troops that are fighting out there. Um, I do want to move on the side information. Given this ability, the Bronx County Conservative Party, we're doing a thank you luncheon for the candidates and volunteers for getting helping us fill our slates this year. It's going to be on Saturday, April 27th at 1 p.m. It's going to be at the Walnut Bus Stop at 881 East 134th Street in the Bronx. The public is welcome. We asked for a $25 donation, but this is more for the candidates and the volunteers. The public is welcome for a donation, small donation. There's going to be music, raffle, prizes, lunch provided. To register, contact Zenoma Bolia at zmb8613@gmail.com or 516-900-2898. I'm going to post this on all my social media. You can contact me in all my social media at Gonzalo Duran NYC. That's GONZALO DURAN NYC. You can also, if you're trying to get in contact with me in any way, you feel free to check out my website on what I'm doing and the things that I have done in the past. You can look it up at gonzaloduran.nyc. So once again, it's www.gonzaloduran, GONZALODURAN.NYC. DJ Lama, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. You're technically the first person or the first show that's given me the ability to speak after receiving my candidacy. My becoming an official candidate for Congressional District 15. In this coming months, if you would want to volunteer, donate, I already given you all my information to reach out to me to the public. And come November, I hope I get you guys to vote.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. It was under these. We were supposed to schedule an interview and stuff like that. Fortunately, under the circumstances,
you're keeping me on my toes. I like it. I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I wish it was better stuff we were discussing. All the community work that we have been doing together and everything like that, and making a change one block at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one borough at a time, and stuff like that, But I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, to speak with us for over 2 hours, to have a real candid conversation, not scripted. There was no script here. Just shooting from the hip, shooting from the heart, and talking to the public, talking to not only the voters of the Bronx, New York City, but people around the nation, around the world, so they can see what's really going on, not political spin from mainstream media or left or right. We're in the middle here, all sides of the spectrum. There's no echo chambers here, nothing like that at Who's Next NYC FM radio. And, I wish you the best of luck. what all your future endeavors, everything that you do, and continue being an inspiration to me and to everybody out there. You know that a Marine could do good. You know, serve his country, serve his community, serve his city. You know where he's from, born and raised, and hopefully November 5th, serve his country and U.S. Congress.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So thank you so much for being a part of our show and discussion today. And you know, all we can do is pray for this conflict to end as soon as possible, and we could start rebuilding Gaza and Israel and Iran, and maybe one day we all could get together and have peace. But unfortunately, we have to go through the process now and see what happens. So I thank everybody for tuning in. I thank you, the Honorable Gonzalo Durant. Make sure to check out his campaign at www.gonzalodurant.nyc. One more time, that is www.gonzalodurant.nyc. Find out more information, what he's doing, what he's been doing for the past 20 years, and what he will do the next 4 years once elected into Congress, and how you could be a part of his campaign, to be a volunteer, to donate, and be a part of his movement to make the Bronx great again, to make New York City great again, to make I know I'm stealing from somebody that to make New York great again, and to make America, no pun intended, or to make America great again, and always to put America first. Thank you so much. Thank you.